We're on Virgin Radio with AUB's Innovation Park. I have Salim Edde with me in the studio, the founder of Murex, the founder of Museum of Mineral, one of the most successful entrepreneurs and businessmen in the history of the country. Salim, welcome to the show. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Arthur. You are very flattering by saying that I am the most successful, etc.
Well,
it's
you are.
Succession. Well, to be honest, it is really a teamwork, actually. The only thing is that I started the company, but then the company is, now you have 3,000 people, of which over 1,000 here in Lebanon. And, Lebanon has become really the central hub of the whole company that is servicing 75 countries worldwide. And that's it. So it's like parents and children. The parents beget the children, and then the children have their own life and succeed or fail on their own.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know, like, everyone knows Murex, right? But maybe a lot of people don't know what Murex does. But whenever they find out that Murex is behind all of the trading technologies for some of the biggest banks around the world, like Bank of America, Citibank, even Saudi National Bank, and so on. Like, you guys are actually one of the biggest players.
Let me try to summarize, because it's not very obvious to explain. And the most difficult question I was ever asked in my life was my late grandmother. When a company had already started after 3-4 years, and she once told me, طيب يا تيتا شو بتشتغلوا على المضبوط بهالشركة? In other words, my grandson, what do you do exactly? What do I do? I had to explain to her what is a computer, what is new modern financial markets, what is a bond, what is. I told her, grandmother, these are all the toys that we use now, the modern toys called computers. تعمل لي يا تيتا الله يوفقكم وإن شاء الله تمسكوا الرمل ويقلب ذهب بين إيديكم وهي القصة. So it's not a very easy task. Do you want me to try to summarize?
I would love to, but first we are going to listen to some. What are we listening to? Taylor Swift? It's been a while, Laura.
Okay, fine. We'll do a Taylor Swift song.
We're back on Virgin Radio today. I have Salim Edde with me in the studio. So we were talking about Murex and how big of a company it is and the complexity behind it. So how do you summarize Murex for people listening?
Actually, very quickly speaking, financial markets are all about one thing: borrowing money and lending money. This is really something absolutely essential to have a good economy, that people can be able to borrow, to lend. The big financial institutions, such as banks, for instance, take the money from people and lend the money to other people and then give the money back with interest. Well, not always. Here in Lebanon, it didn't work very well lately, but that's another story. And so how to make the money move between all the actors of the economy to have an economy that runs well. And financial markets are a little bit like oil when you have an engine. If you don't oil the gears properly, well, the engine doesn't work. So a good financial market with all the possibilities of lending, borrowing, long-term, short-term, with risk, without risk, etc., is essential for a good economy. Now, these financial actors are seeing volumes that have exploded in the last 3-4 decades. You have trillions of dollars that are moving every day between all the actors, and so you need to handle that. You need a system, a software system, in order to handle that. This is exactly what we do. So over the past 38 years, we've been developing platforms to let all these banks buy, sell, handle all these financial instruments, bonds, stocks, swaps, etc. And it's all the more essential today as the volumes have really exploded. And you have more and more countries, such as, for instance, China, India, all these countries that were almost inexistent, economically speaking, when Murex started 38 years ago, and are now huge economies.
Which is crazy. Like, if you think about it, like Murex, a company that started from Lebanon, is oiling the global economy, which is, insane. And that's why we talk about it in AUB's Innovation Park, right? It's like, from Lebanon, you can build global companies, right? You just need the right support and so on. And that's why we do the show. That's why we have the program. That's why we have people like Salim who are supporting, because every single one of you listening can do it. You just need the right guidance. This is AUB's Innovation Park. My name is Arthur. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Laminate Fashion and the entrepreneur in residence of AUB's Innovation Park. I have with me Salim Edde, the founder of Murex. We talked about the global expansion and how Murex is really, behind a lot of the biggest banks around the world. They build all the technologies for trading, that runs the economy. But Salim, you were telling me during the break that actually Murex, and this was very interesting for you, right? So you launched Murex in Paris, but then you came back.
Yes, actually what happened is that when I started the company with a French friend and with my youngest brother, that was in September 86. September 86, Lebanon was,
on fire.
Set ablaze, on fire completely. And so the company developed there because you had also developing financial markets that we accompanied with our software. And my late father kept on telling me, you have to come back to Lebanon, you will see, etc. But I mean, there's nothing here. Everything is destroyed. There are no banks. Yes, believe me, although my father didn't know exactly what we were doing, but he felt... And actually, what happened is that we have very good talents in Lebanon because still today we have universities, AUB, Al-Jama Al-Lebaniyya, Al-Uzib, NDU, LAU, etc., who produce excellent people. So what we did in Paris, that we got these people from Lebanon and made them work in Paris, in New York, etc. And at one point in time, we said, I mean, it's silly. Let us keep them where they are and let us start development in Lebanon. Now, our platform has become really bigger and bigger. And, a platform is, you have millions of lines of code that change continuously in order to adapt the system, to correct the errors, etc., etc. And so you need to ensure that the versions that you are developing are still good. They are not regressing with respect to older versions if you want to convince the clients to move from one version to the other. And so we said, let us create a first department here in Lebanon devoted to quality assurance, where people develop robots to test new versions, to compare them with earlier versions, and to make sure that you don't have regression. And that was really the first assignment. It was very successful. And from there on, we kept developing. So we started around 2003. There were about 50 people in Lebanon. 25 people in Lebanon. Today, we are 1,100 here in Lebanon.
So from 23 to 1,100. It's the biggest headquarters now, right?
It is on par with Paris. Actually, you have 1/3 of the employees of the whole group in Paris, 1/3 in Beirut, and the other third scattered on 18 different offices worldwide.
That is amazing. Lara, what are you vibing right now? What's your song of the day?
Dancing in the Moonlight by Top Loader. This is a Rida special.
We're on the show with Virgin Radio and AB's Innovation Park. So, Salim, you're not just the founder of Murex, right? Like, you also do a lot of amazing work with a lot of universities. You support the youth. But I think your passion project right now is the museum, right? The Museum of Minerals.
Actually, I have many passions. One of them was starting to collect minerals about a little bit over 20 years ago. Just a quick word, minerals are all the constituents of the solid matter that constitutes our planet. So anything that's solid on our planet, rocks, mountains, metals, etc., are made of minerals. There are about 5,000 minerals constituting our planet. 3 of them are very common. One, the most common, is called quartz in English. It's called maru in Arabic. It's just a constituent of the sand, of many rocks, etc. A second one that is very abundant in Lebanon is calcite, calcium carbonate, which is the constituent of the limestone, the white stone of Lebanon. And then there's another one that people eat every day, which is sodium chloride, which is the salt. What characterizes these minerals is that they are made of crystals. Crystals are perfectly geometric shapes, like cubes, hexagons, and so on, that look as if they were carved. When you look at a grain of salt that you sprinkle on your food with a loop, you will see a cube. And a cube means 90 degrees even. Except that most of the time, crystals are tiny and not visible with the naked eye, and they are just compacted on one another and give everything solid that we see. From time to time, in some of the mines of our planet, geological conditions were such that crystals could grow unimpeded and reach sufficiently big sizes to be appreciated with the naked eye. These are the ones I have collected. And as I grow old, my sight is dwindling, so I'm getting bigger and bigger crystals in the collection. I'm not joking. I mean, the last topaz I purchased is 130 kilos.
It was and you have an amazing collection, right? Like it's what, more than 2,000 pieces right now?
2,300 pieces.
And Lara is such a big fan.
Enough to build a museum,
I know we're going to talk
guess.
about this so much more, but we're going to take a short break and we're going to be back and we're going to talk about Lara's obsession with Salim's minerals. We are on the show with AUB's Innovation Park and Virgin Radio. So we were talking about the Museum of Minerals, which is really cool because even on TripAdvisor, Museum of Minerals is the #1 attraction in Lebanon. And Lara, you're a huge fan, right?
It's a stunning place. It is insane. It will encapsulate you. You start out, everything's organized perfectly, first of all. Everything is so interactive. Plus, on top of that, you have fossils in a room. You have an entire room where you go in and you see like, you're taken back to like the Ice Age, whereby there are like fish bones and like animals. Like there's like a snake one that was stunning. And there are interactive panels whereby they're like, I think you like put your face in and you can see like the view of like a pterodactyl at some point, and like you're flying and like you are the pterodactyl and you have wings, and it's very, very, very trippy. And the stones are beautiful.
What's the most fascinating part, by the way? I don't know if you know this, but the Museum of Mineral, I had like a 2-hour private tour with Salim, which was amazing. But
I would love that.
The funny thing is that the Museum of Mineral started off as his private collection at home, and then it was so big.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Actually, what happened? Well, this started as a collection over 20 years ago, and then at one point in time, there are two persons who really brought me to the idea of the museum. They are not totally contemporaneous, you will understand. My grandmother, which I mentioned earlier, and Tutankhamun. There are about 3,500 years between them.
Yeah.
My grandmother kept on telling me, while we were talking, بتعرف يا تيتا ما بعبر حدا أخذ شيء معه. Nobody has
takes anything with them when they go.
And so I said, she's right. I mean, there are many tons. Where I'm going to take them and how? So second thing, I heeded what happened to Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun, with all his magnificence, etc. The guy was buried in his grave with his jewels, his clothes, his arms, etc. Tutankhamun disappeared. Everything remained where it was and ended up in a museum. So I thought I would skip one step and put everything in a museum before ending like Tutankhamun. That was the idea.
Smart move.
It's very simple.
Smart move, and what a beautiful way to share it with everyone, because the malachite green there, the malachite stone, honestly, looks like it's made of fur. It's beautiful, and the shine on it, and how it's
like velvet, the velvety
it's
one.
Velvety.
That is,
it feels like
but
you want to
touch
it.
It looks velvety, but it's a very hard stone.
Seriously, and there are interactive panels whereby you can pick a stone and you get information about them, and everyone there is so helpful. And please, please, please go into like the section whereby you turn off the light and there's like black light everywhere, and then the amber stones just start shining everywhere.
There's actually a way for you to experience the museum in the most unique way possible, right? And we're actually going to talk about that after these songs. We're back on AB's Innovation Park with Virgin Radio. We were discussing with Salim the Museum of Minerals, which is the #1 attraction in Lebanon based on TripAdvisor. Lara, you're obsessed with it. We were just talking about how beautiful it is.
Please go down, check it out.
The history of the world, but not the history of the world that we see on the outside, but what really makes the planet, right? Like how the planet was created. Right. And it's perfect. It's art.
Actually, there is a form of art that people are not used to. In nature, people know the beauty of plants, of butterflies, of animals, etc., etc. But that a rock could be something beautiful is not something very common. So here we've tried to select precisely the beautiful ones that constitute our planet. And behind that, so we've concentrated on beauty, first of all. And then behind that, you have QR codes, you have all the information to get all the scientific information that is behind. From a chemistry point of view, from a physics point of view, from a mathematical point of view, etc., etc. The idea being to show kids, students, and so on, that what they're learning at school is really something useful, something that has an application in life to explain all these things. So you see, we've tried, because we could have made a museum, an old-fashioned one, with just endless showcases and so on and so forth. But we tried to completely change the thing in order to make it appealing to people. You know that about 20% of the people who come and visit the museum have already visited it several times.
Yeah, I've been there multiple times.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful place.
So the repeat business is very important for us. I don't want people to get bored there. And I'll tell you a story. One day, I came across two parents dragging their teenagers down to the visit. The teenagers were sulking like teenagers can do it, with the Y here on their ears, and showing that they didn't care at all about the thing. I didn't say anything. I went to my office, and then I came across them again while they were getting out of the visit. The teenagers were smiling, talking to their parents. The wives were off. So I said, if the museum has this success with even sulking teenagers, it has a potential, clearly.
No, it's such an amazing. I love, my favorite rock is the one that actually looks like a heart. So there's one that looks like an actual heart made out of minerals.
Pretty one.
It's really nice. Speaking of which, Lara, from now on, every time I see you, I'm going to tell you you're as beautiful as a rock, and that's like the biggest form of compliment.
That's stunning.
So
if it's a malachite green rock, I'm good.
Compliment. So what we were talking about earlier is that, so now, as of March, the museum is actually free for everyone to enter, and we were discussing with Salim that if you have a group of 15 to 30 people and you want a private tour and to know the history and the concept of every single rock, Salim is willing to do that personally, and all you have to do is just reach out to the museum, talk to them, and book the tour, and you can find everything, whether on the website or on Instagram. It's Museum of Minerals. It's very easy to find, and it's located in prime location, right? It's next to the Madhaf.
It's right across the National Museum.
Yeah, next to the National Museum. It's within the campus of USG in the sports center, right? So don't get confused if you get there. It's actually there. It's very famous. It's very easily located.
And you can even park your car, which is a luxury.
You've got parking, you've got parking, stones, you've got
underground parking and ground parking.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, and if you text me and Lara, we'll meet you there. Maybe. Unfortunately, we're out of time for the day. I can chat with Salim for endless hours. But Salim, just like if you could say in exactly a couple of words only, like 4 to 5 words, what would be an advice that you have to the youth that is listening to this show today?
Well, not to give up hope at all. I know the situation is not very easy in Lebanon. Well, it's not easy in the whole planet because the whole planet is going totally crazy, to be honest, when you see what happens in the United States, what happens in Russia, what happens. Anyway, try to concentrate on jobs that can be done in Lebanon, where Lebanon has a competitive advantage compared to others. Software being one of them, as you know, because you're in there. There are many possibilities. Try to concentrate on it, and the proof is there. We have 1,100 engineers with an average age of 29. It's a bit high because I'm counted there. I'm 66. But very young people right off the university and working in the software environment.
That's amazing.
And never give up hope. I left the country because of the war in 1976. I came back in around 2003. I was 47 years old. And we developed the company here.
So never give up hope. There's a lot of opportunities. You can build from here, scale globally. And you know what? You're never too old. You're never too young. You're exactly where you are in life. You can start today